I don't know what my son sees in you. You'll never be good enough for him. Leave before you ruin more lives, Warren snarled, his eyes narrowing as they bore into me across the dinner table. My hands trembled, clinking my fork against the plate. What did I ever do to you? I managed to stammer, my voice barely above a whisper. Just being you was enough, he retorted coldly, not even blinking. The tension in the air was suffocating. Jaden sat beside me, his jaw clenched and face pale. I glanced at him, hoping for support, but he seemed as stunned as I was. Warren's words cut through the jovial atmosphere we had started with when we first arrived. Now it felt like those words were crumbling around us. It had been a typical family dinner, or so I thought. Jaden's mother, Diana, had filled our plates with roast chicken and mashed potatoes, while his sister, Mallory, chatted about her latest project at work. Things were going well until Warren decided to speak his mind. Elena, don't let him get to you, Mallory murmured from across the table, her voice a soft plea. Warren shot her a withering look. Mallory, stay out of this. You have no idea what kind of woman she really is. Jaden finally found his voice. Dad, that's enough. His voice was firm but tinged with a shaky anger. I could see him wrestling with his loyalty towards his father and his love for me. Warren ignored him. You think she loves you? She's after your money. Doesn't matter how long she plays this game, it's always the same. A gold digger. Stop it, Warren. Diana's voice quivered. She reached out to touch her husband's arm, but he brushed her aside. Mom, Dad, this is not fair, Jaden said, standing up, trying to get between us. I love Elena, and she loves me. Warren scoffed. Love? You're naive, Jaden. You think a woman like her at her age isn't looking for financial security? I felt my face burn with anger and humiliation. I have a career. I've worked hard for everything I have. I don't need Jaden's money. Warren's laughter was dry and sharp. Sure, keep telling yourself that, but we all know the truth. Jaden's fists clenched at his sides. Dad, that's enough. His voice was louder now, echoing in the dining room. If you can't accept Elena, then maybe we shouldn't come here anymore. Warren's eyes gleamed with a cold satisfaction, like he'd achieved what he set out to do. Maybe you shouldn't. I rose from my seat, feeling a sharp sting of betrayal. I think it's time we leave, I said softly, grabbing my coat from the back of the chair. Jaden grabbed his car keys, his face set in a hard line. Yeah, let's go. We walked out of the house, the door closing firmly behind us. The night air was chilly, matching the iciness that settled in my heart. As we reached the car, Jaden stopped and turned to me. I'm so sorry, Elena. I didn't think he'd be this way. I looked at him, feeling a mix of sadness and love. It's not your fault, Jaden. But what are we going to do? I don't know, he admitted, the hopelessness in his voice breaking my heart. As we drove away, I couldn't shake Warren's words from my mind. Was this the beginning of a rift too deep to mend? The night felt darker than it should, and the road ahead seemed long and uncertain. The night after dinner at Warren's, I laid awake, staring at the ceiling. The humiliation from Warren's words stung deeper than I wanted to admit. Jaden was beside me, fast asleep, his breathing steady. I envied his ability to shut everything out, even if just temporarily. The next morning, I sipped my coffee in silence as Jaden sat across from me, his face clouded with worry. Elena? He started, unsure of how to continue. I put my cup down, looking at him. You don't need to say it? Your father has made his feelings very clear, Jaden. What I don't understand is why. He's just protective, Jaden sighed, rubbing his temple. He thinks everyone is out to take advantage of us. That still doesn't justify his behavior, I replied, feeling a sharp edge in my voice. I know. Jaden looked defeated, but he has this way of making me doubt everything. I stood up, pacing the kitchen. The wooden floor creaked under my feet. Jaden, you know me. You know I'm not looking for anything but a life with you. Why is that so hard for him to accept? Jaden stood and took my hand. I believe you, I do. But Dad, he's not easy to change. My phone buzzed with a notification. A text from Mallory. Hey, can we meet up? Need to talk about last night. I glanced at Jaden and showed him the message. Go, he said, dropping my hand. Maybe she can provide some insight. I met Mallory at a small cafe downtown. She looked anxious, her fingers tapping on the table as I sat down. Elena, I'm so sorry for how Dad treated you, she began, her voice shaky. He's always been this way, ever since. Ever since when? I asked, leaning forward. Ever since Uncle Leonard came back into our lives, she admitted, looking over her shoulder as if expecting Warren to appear. What do you mean? I asked, puzzled. Leonard has always been the schemer, stirring up trouble. Dad became more paranoid and controlling when Leonard returned from overseas. She ran a hand through her hair. I think they're plotting something against you. Why would they do that? I whispered, despite myself. Because they believe if they push you away, Jaden will stay loyal to the family business. My heart sank. So it's about control and power? Mallory nodded. Dad thinks Jaden will choose the family over you? And Leonard, well, he just enjoys the games. Thanks for telling me, I said, squeezing her hand. But this just makes everything even more complicated. I'll help in any way I can, Mallory promised. But I need to be careful. If Dad finds out I'm helping you... I understand, I assured her. We need to be smart about this. Driving back home, I mulled over Mallory's words. Warren wasn't just worried about me as a person. He saw me as a threat to his control. And Leonard? He thrived on deceit and manipulation. Opening the front door, I found Jaden waiting, the worry lines on his forehead deepening. What did Mallory say? I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. Warren and Uncle Leonard are working together. They see me as a threat. It's about control, Jaden. They fear losing you to anything outside their influence. Jaden's face darkened, anger flickering in his eyes. I can't believe they're going this far. We need to be strong, I said, taking his hand. We need to stand together. Jaden nodded. We will, Elena. We'll fight this. Together. Looking into his eyes, I knew the road ahead would be challenging, but we would face it side by side. We wouldn't let Warren's manipulation destroy us. A week passed, and the tension between Jaden and his family showed no signs of easing. I tried to focus on my work, but the anxiety lingered like a shadow. Every vibration of my phone made my heart skip, fearing another attack from Warren or Leonard. One evening, Jaden arrived home, looking more stressed than usual. Dad's not stopping, he said, dropping his briefcase on the couch. He's enlisted Uncle Leonard to dig up dirt on you. My stomach churned. Great, just what we needed, I muttered, sinking into the chair. Jaden sat next to me. We need to be careful, Elena. Leonard is known for his dirty tactics. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from Mallory. Heads up, Leonard and Dad are spreading rumors about you to the family. Stay strong. I showed the message to Jaden. They're really pulling out all the stops. Jaden's face hardened. I won't let them do this to you, to us. Just then, the doorbell rang. Jaden opened it to reveal Leonard standing there, a smug look on his face. Hello, nephew, Leonard said smoothly. Mind if I come in? Jaden's jaw tightened. What do you want, Leonard? Leonard glanced at me, feigning surprise. Oh, is this a bad time? This isn't a social call, and you know it, I said, stepping forward to stand beside Jaden. Leonard smirked. Well, since you're here, Elena, let me be blunt. You're not welcome in our family. Get to the point, Leonard, Jaden snapped. Warren and I have been talking, Leonard continued, and we think it's in everyone's best interest if Elena steps away from the family and from you, Jaden. You can't be serious, Jaden said, his voice trembling with anger. Leonard shrugged. We're completely serious. She's a liability. The rumors, well, they're gaining traction. Even your mother is starting to have doubts. I felt a surge of anger. These lies won't destroy us, Leonard. We'll see about that, Leonard said, his eyes glinting. You might find that fighting against family is more than you can handle. Jaden took a step closer to Leonard. You're playing a dangerous game. I won't stand by and let you ruin our lives. Leonard chuckled. Family comes first, Jaden. Always has, always will. Think about it. With that, he turned and walked out. Jaden slammed the door shut, his face red with frustration. You okay? I asked, reaching for his hand. He shook his head. I hate them for this. How could they do this to their own family? We'll get through it, I assured him. We just need to stay one step ahead. The next few days were a blur of whispered conversations and sideways glances from Jaden's extended family. Rumors spread like wildfire, accusations about my past, lies about my intentions. Even at work, I could feel the cold stares from coworkers who'd heard the gossip. Meeting Mallory in secret became our only way to stay informed. They're painting you as a manipulative gold digger, she said one afternoon, her eyes filled with regret. They're relentless. But why? I asked, frustrated. Why go through so much trouble? They think it's the only way to keep control. she answered softly. They're trying to protect the family business. They don't care who gets hurt along the way. I won't let them win, Mallory, I vowed. The line between family and enemy had been drawn. Warren and Leonard's actions were setting the stage for a confrontation that was brewing just beneath the surface. Jaden and I were determined to stand united, even as the storm clouds gathered overhead. These battles weren't just about us anymore. They revealed the lengths people would go to for power and control. But no matter what, we would fight back together. The tension was almost unbearable. Each day at work was fraught with whispered rumors and sidelong glances. Jaden and I tried to keep our heads down, but the pressure was mounting. Warren and Leonard's influence had far-reaching consequences. Even Mallory started to distance herself, fearing repercussions. One night, Jaden came home looking exhausted. His tie was askew, and he threw his jacket over the chair. "Dad ambushed me at the office today," he said, rubbing his temple. I approached him, concerned. "What happened?" "He tried to interrogate me about our relationship. He's convinced you're hiding something." Jaden's voice was filled with frustration. "Did you tell him anything?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "Of course not. But he doesn't believe me. He's convinced you're not who you say you are. And Leonard? He's too good at what he does." "We need to do something," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "We can't just sit back and let them tear us apart." Jaden nodded. "I know, but I feel stuck. Every time I try to talk to him, it just gets worse." The next morning, I decided I'd had enough. I texted Warren, asking for a meeting. Jaden was hesitant, but he finally agreed. "Just be careful," he warned. I arrived at Warren's office, my heart pounding. The receptionist led me into a large, imposing room where Warren sat behind a massive desk. He didn't even look up as I entered. "You wanted to see me?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. Warren finally looked up, his gaze icy. "So you've decided to confront the dragon in his den?" I ignored his sarcasm. "We need to put an end to this, Warren. Your manipulation is tearing us apart." He leaned back in his chair, a cruel smile curling his lips. "I'm only protecting my family, something you know nothing about." "You're not protecting anyone," I shot back. "You're controlling and destroying relationships." Warren stood, his eyes flashing with anger. "You think you can just come into my family and take what you want? You're nothing, a nobody." I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "I love Jaden, and he loves me. You can't change that with lies and manipulation." "You're delusional," Warren sneered. "Jaden will come around. He'll see the truth about you." "He already knows the truth," I replied firmly. "And he's chosen me." Warren's face darkened. "You don't belong here. Leave now, and maybe things will settle down. Otherwise, you're going to regret you ever stepped into this family." I left his office with my heart racing, but my resolve strengthened. I wouldn't let Warren intimidate me. When I got home, Jaden was waiting. "How did it go?" he asked anxiously. "Not well," I admitted. "He's not backing down." Jaden paced the room, fists clenching and unclenching. "We can't keep living like this, Alina. Maybe we should take a break. Let things cool down." I felt like the floor had been pulled out from under me. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I need time to think," Jaden said, his voice breaking. "We're under so much pressure. I can't think straight." "Jaden, please," I pleaded. "Don't let them win. We can fight this together." "I don't know if I can," he whispered, tears welling in his eyes. "I'm so sorry, Alina." He left that night, deciding to stay at a friend's place for a while. As the door closed behind him, I felt a cold, numb sensation creeping over me. Warren's plan was working, and I was losing the one person who mattered most. Jaden's decision to take a break hit me like a ton of bricks. Each day without him was a struggle. The house felt empty and cold, every corner reminding me of what I was losing. I barely slept, my mind racing with thoughts about Warren and Leonard's relentless scheming. One evening, unable to sit idle any longer, I decided to dig through my own files and emails, hoping to find something to counter Warren and Leonard's lies. Hours passed with nothing. Frustration gnawed at me until I stumbled upon an email chain that caught my attention. Sent to an unfamiliar address, it was filled with malicious intent and vivid descriptions of plans to eliminate me from Jaden's life. My heart raced as I realized the sender was Leonard, and the recipient was Warren. The messages detailed their relentless plot to sow discord and manipulate Jaden. I immediately called Mallory, my voice shaking. Mallory, I found something. You have to see it. We met at a coffee shop, and I showed her the emails on my laptop. Her face paled as she read through them. This is insane, Elena. They're worse than I thought. We have to show this to Jaden, I said. Mallory nodded. Let me reach out to him. Maybe he'll listen to me. Later that evening, Mallory texted me, Jaden's coming over. Be ready. When Jaden arrived, his face was tense and tired. Mallory said you found something? I nodded, leading him to the kitchen where my laptop was set up. It's better if you see for yourself. He read the emails, his expression shifting from confusion to shock, then to a slow-burning rage. These are from Dad and Leonard? About you? Yes, I said softly. They've been manipulating you, Jaden. This is proof. Jaden's hands trembled as he closed the laptop. All this time, I can't believe they would go this far. I took a step towards him. Jaden, we can fight this together. But you need to see what they're really doing. He nodded, his eyes brimming with determination. You're right. We need to confront them. This can't go on. We decided to face Warren and Leonard together, arranging a meeting at Warren's house. Mallory insisted on coming along for support. The tension as we walked into the house was palpable. Warren and Leonard sat in the living room, looking smug and confident. So you've come to your senses, Jaden? Warren asked, playing on his lips. Warren asked, a sneer playing on his lips. Jaden's voice was firm. We know what you've been doing, Dad, manipulating, trying to tear us apart. Warren's expression didn't falter. I've done what's best for you, Jaden. Jaden slammed the laptop on the table, opening the incriminating emails. This is what's best for me? Lies and manipulation? Leonard leaned forward, his smile fading. You don't understand. No, you don't understand, Jaden interrupted. You've lost my trust, and you won't get it back. Warren's eyes narrowed. Elena is poisoning you against us. This is your doing, not hers, Jaden shot back. We're done with your games. Mallory finally stepped forward, her voice steady. I support Jaden and Elena. You two are toxic, and it's time we all saw it. Warren's face contorted with fury, but he said nothing. Jaden took my hand, his grip reassuring. We're leaving, and we won't be coming back. As we walked out, I felt a surge of relief. Warren and Leonard's hold on Jaden had broken, and together we were stronger. It wouldn't be easy, but we had exposed their deceit. The road to healing had begun, and for the first time in weeks, I felt hopeful about the future. Jaden and I spent the next few days gathering our strength. We knew the confrontation had just begun. Armed with the truth, we set a plan in motion to reveal Warren and Leonard's deceit to the entire family. We decided to call a family meeting at Jaden's parents' house, ensuring that the extended family would be present. Jaden invited everyone, making it clear that this was a matter of urgency. Warren and Leonard might have thought they could manipulate the situation, but this time we would control the narrative. The family gathered in the large living room, filled with murmurs of confusion and curiosity. Warren and Leonard sat in their usual chairs, their faces steely and unreadable. Jaden stood beside me, gripping my hand for support. Thank you all for coming, Jaden began, his voice strong. We have something important to discuss. For weeks, Elena and I have been victims of lies and manipulation orchestrated by my father and uncle. A murmur ran through the room. Warren leaned forward, a sneer on his face. This again, Jaden? Haven't we had enough of this nonsense? It's not nonsense, Jaden replied, his voice unwavering. He turned to Mallory, who stood up and began playing the emails on the big screen. Silence fell over the room as Leonard's and Warren's voices filled the room, their cold, calculating words undeniable. The shock on the family's faces was evident, and whispers of disbelief spread like wildfire. How could you do this? Jaden's aunt muttered, glaring at Warren. Warren's face turned red with rage. You think this proves anything? It's all taken out of context. Context, Jaden's voice rose. You manipulated and lied to push Elena out of my life. This isn't love or protection, it's control and deceit. Leonard tried to interject. We were protecting the family, Jaden. Sometimes harsh measures are necessary. Harsh measures? Mallory snapped. This is cruelty, plain and simple. Jaden's mother, Diana, stood up, her face pale. Warren, is this true? Have you been lying to all of us? Warren looked around, his confidence wavering. I did what I thought was right, but Jaden, he's blinded by her. She's not one of us. Jaden's voice shook with emotion. Elena is more family to me than you've ever been since this started. She didn't deserve any of this. Warren stuttered, but Jaden cut him off. Enough. I'm done with your lies. This ends now. The room was tense, every eye on Warren and Leonard. Jaden turned to the family. From this day forward, we cut ties with them. Their influence ends here. We rebuild without lies. Diana, with tears in her eyes, nodded. I'm so sorry, Jaden, Alina. I didn't know it had gone this far. Jaden squeezed my hand. We're moving forward as a family, but only with those who support us, who value truth. Warren stood up, his face contorted with fury. You're making a big mistake, Jaden. No, Jaden replied, his voice steady. For the first time, I'm making the right choice. As Warren and Leonard left the room, the weight of their influence seemed to lift. The family began to rally around us, offering apologies and support. Jaden drew me close, his arm around my shoulders. We did it, I whispered, feeling a sense of relief washing over me. Jaden nodded, his eyes determined. This is just the beginning. Together, we can face anything. The reckoning had come, and while the road ahead was still uncertain, we knew we'd taken the first step towards a future free from deceit. With every obstacle overcome, our bond grew stronger, proving that love and truth would always prevail. As the door closed behind Warren and Leonard, a heavy silence descended on the room. The air felt charged with the weight of everything that had happened. Jaden and I stood together, still processing the enormity of what we'd just done. Diana approached us, her face lined with worry. Jaden, Alina, I had no idea they were capable of this. I'm so sorry. Jaden sighed, his shoulders relaxing slightly for the first time in weeks. It's not your fault, Mom, but we need to move forward. Mallory stepped in, her eyes resolute. Rebuilding won't be easy, but we can do it, together. Jaden nodded. First, we need to make sure Warren and Leonard can't harm us any further. Their influence needs to end, both in the family and in the business. I turned to Jaden, my voice steady. We will, Jaden. We'll figure this out. The next morning, Jaden and I began the process of distancing ourselves from Warren's business. It was clear that to reclaim our lives, we needed to establish independence. I decided to dive back into my marketing career, focusing on what I had built for myself before all this chaos. Meanwhile, Jaden started exploring opportunities to start his own enterprise. Each evening, we sat together, discussing ideas, plans, and the future we envisioned without the shadow of Warren's control. One late afternoon, Jaden came home, his face lit with excitement. I found a potential investor for a new project. This could be a fresh start for us. I smiled, proud of his determination. That's amazing, Jaden. Let's make it happen. We met the investor, an old friend of Jaden's, who was eager to support his vision. As plans solidified, it felt like a burden lifting off our shoulders, replaced by a sense of purpose and hope. Amidst all this, one evening, Diana called, her voice filled with a newfound resolve. Jaden, I think it's time we talked about your father. I need to explain why he's become so bitter. Jaden and I visited Diana the following weekend. She welcomed us into the home that had seen so much turmoil, her expression both sad and determined. Warren wasn't always like this, Diana began, her voice soft. There was a time when he was full of hope, just like you, Jaden, but life has a way of hardening people. What changed him? Jaden asked, leaning forward. Diana took a deep breath. It was Leonard's return from overseas. Warren had always felt a duty to protect the family, but Leonard's influence made it worse. He stirred up old insecurities, convinced Warren that everyone was out to take from him. It turned him into this controlling figure obsessed with power. I listened, feeling a pang of empathy despite everything Warren had done. That kind of fear can destroy people, I said quietly. Yes, Diana agreed. Doubt and fear consumed him, and he took it out on those he should have loved the most. Jaden's face was filled with a mix of anger and sadness. He's hurt us all so much. I know, Diana said, tears in her eyes, but understanding his past doesn't excuse his actions. It just helps us see the full picture. Jaden nodded, reaching for my hand. We won't let his past dictate our future. We're carving out our own path now. In the weeks that followed, Jaden's new venture began to take shape. We poured our energy into creating a future built on trust and mutual support. Mallory, freed from Warren's oppressive influence, found her own voice, contributing to the family in ways she'd been too scared to before. Despite the confrontation and the revelations, healing had begun. Warren and Leonard's fall from power left a void, but it also provided an opportunity for growth. We were no longer defined by the bitterness that had once threatened to tear us apart. As Jaden and I stood together, looking towards the horizon, we knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. But for the first time, it felt like our own. And that made all the difference. Warren's fall was more profound than anyone could have anticipated. Once a titan of influence, he now found himself ostracized by both his immediate and extended family. Word of his and Leonard's manipulations spread quickly, turning allies into skeptics and friends into critics. Jaden and I watched from a distance as Warren's once impenetrable empire began to crumble. He had alienated everyone who mattered, and now he was paying the price. It was hard not to feel a mix of satisfaction and pity. One evening, as we were settling into our new routine, Jaden received an unexpected call from his mother. Her voice was heavy with concern. "Jaden, it's your father. He's not handling this well. Can you come over?" Jaden looked at me, uncertainty in his eyes. "Should we go?" I nodded. "He's still your father. Let's see what's going on." When we arrived, Diana led us into the living room where Warren sat, staring blankly at the wall. His once sharp and commanding demeanor was now a shadow of its former self. "Jaden, Elena," Warren said, his voice lifeless. "I suppose you've come to see the defeated king." "Dad," Jaden began, almost pleading, "this didn't have to be this way. You pushed everyone away." Warren's eyes hardened momentarily. "I did what I thought was right, for the family." "And look where it's gotten you," I said, unable to keep the bitterness out of my voice. "You hurt so many people, including your own children." Diana touched Warren's arm gently. "It's time to let go of this thirst for control, Warren. It's destroying you." For a moment, the old Warren seemed to surface, his eyes flashing with the stubborn pride that had defined him for so long. But it faded quickly, leaving behind a man broken by his own machinations. Jaden took a deep breath. "Dad, you need to understand that we're moving forward without your influence. We're creating our own lives now." Warren looked at Jaden, truly seeing him for perhaps the first time in years. "I just wanted to protect you." "By manipulating and deceiving us?" Jaden shook his head. "That's not protection, Dad. That's control, and it's over." We left Warren's house that evening with a sense of finality. The old power structures had fallen, and in their place, we were building something new and honest. Mallory, emboldened by the changes, finally stepped out of the shadows. She openly supported Jaden, cutting ties with the toxic patriarchy that had held them captive for so long. Her transformation was inspiring, and it further solidified our resolve to pursue a life free from manipulation. Jaden's new business started to gain traction, and my career continued to flourish. We found a balance, supporting each other in ways that strengthened our relationship. Trust and communication became the cornerstones of our lives, our bond reaffirmed through every challenge we faced. One crisp autumn afternoon, Jaden and I sat in our new home, planning our future. The past months had been a whirlwind, but we had emerged stronger and more united. "Do you think he'll ever change?" I asked, referring to Warren. Jaden looked thoughtful. "I don't know, but we can't wait around for him to. We have our own lives to lead." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and peace. "We've come a long way, Jaden." "Yes, we have," he agreed, taking my hand in his. "And we'll keep moving forward, no matter what." The journey had been tumultuous, but we had found our footing. We reclaimed our lives from under Warren's shadow, turning manipulation and deceit into lessons of resilience and hope. The future was ours, a tapestry of love, trust, and unbreakable unity, free from the venom of a bitter lineage. Together, we had triumphed.